Hey everybody, it's Kira with Books to Glam Kira, hopping on to share some of my recent favorite reads with you. I am wrapping up the month of March and I have had the most 5-star reads in a month that I think I've ever had. I don't remember ever having this many. I'm wrapping up the month with 4 5-star reads. So the first one that I gave 5 stars to in March was I was fortunate enough to get an advanced reader copy of the new Patti Callahan Henry book, The Story She Left Behind, which is now out and available. I really enjoyed this one. I enjoyed her previous book, the Floralia book, but this one had more of a historical mystery element to it with I would say a hint of whimsy and almost childhood nostalgia. So all of these different, if you know me, I tend to like kind of that cross multi-genre style of book, especially if it's executed in a way that Patti does for this book. So a little bit about the story. It's a multi-generational story about 3 women. The mother or grandmother in the story is a writer, and she ends up going missing when her daughter is 8 years of age, I believe. And then so the second one, the mother, is a children's book illustrator. And then she, in present day, has an 8-year-old daughter. So 3 women's generation, they're looking for kind of an understanding or clues as to where the grandma / mom went, but in the process learn a lot about each other and themselves. There is a little bit of history in there about London, and it's a feel-good book with a lot of hope and kind of finding yourself. You know, they're definitely unique women. They don't fit in a certain box, and I really love that about this book. I think this would be a great book club pick. I think there's a lot of topics that can be discussed, and certainly I can't cover everything that was in this book. There was just a lot, and I would love to see this for a book club because I think it would be a great chat. The second book that I gave 5 stars to, I was so happy that this was a 5-star. It was my girl Finlay Donovan. So Finlay Donovan Digs Her Own Grave. I just read the new one that recently came out. I am not typically a series girly, but I kind of got tricked into it reading this one. Finlay Donovan is killing it, is my go-to. I love to recommend this to anybody and everybody, especially if they want to get back into reading and they just want something that's a little fun and not too serious. This is by far my go-to. And so, like I said, I don't usually read series. I accidentally kind of stumbled into this because it wasn't initially set up as a series. But I've stuck with Finlay. I've read all of them. I was definitely disappointed in the last one where it's set in Atlantic City. But this one, Finlay Donovan Digs Her Own Grave, it really brought me back to the first one. And I'm not one to read and literally laugh out loud, but I was doing this with this book, and it made me, like I said, it brought me back to the first book in the series and what I enjoyed about Finlay from the very beginning. I also like that this one dives into the nosy neighbor, Mrs. Haggerty. It gives a little backstory on her and kind of expands more on us learning about that nosy neighbor behind the blinds across the street. So make sure and check that out. The third one that I gave 5 stars to was actually a last minute pickup. I had a book club that picked it, and based on timing of what I had going on, I just didn't think that I was going to have time to read it and to fully submerge myself into it. But wouldn't you know, true booktuber that I am, I picked it up. I had a 2-hour car ride and I binged it on audio on my way home. And that was Broken Country by Clare Leslie Hall. She is not a debut author. I thought she was, but in this genre, I believe this is new for her. So kind of feels like a debut, but oh my gosh, it is not written like a debut. It is I've been sitting on this for a week and I still don't know how to convey my thoughts on this book. It is, there's definitely a mystery in there. There's a love triangle. There's a lot of grief and a lot of loss, and it's very emotional, but it's kind of that finding yourself. But I gotta say, I was enjoying this book throughout. I was very engaged, and the ending came, and I'm like, oh, that's got to be it. But holy cow! Then another thing hit, and another thing, and it just kept getting better and better, and I was just blown away. So like I said, this was a book club pick. I got to meet the author, and she is so humble. I just love that for a book, when the author and the book just connect, and you just want to support them in any way you can. I would absolutely recommend this. And then last but not least, I got one more 5-star in before the end of the month, and that was The Quiet Librarian by Alan Eskens. He has quite a few other thriller novels, but this is his first one where he dove into a combination of thriller and historical fiction. And holy cow, it works. He needs to stick with the historical fiction element, because right at the beginning, I was so engrossed in the character and the main character, her loss and everything she went through as a young child. I'm not even going to call her an adult. She was kind of a teenager at the time, and going through the Bosnian War and all of the things that she overcame is just, I realize that this is a work of fiction, but it is based on true happenings. It's also a topic that I haven't read a lot of in the historical fiction world. So I think it's a great book club discussion, so that you can kind of go down that rabbit hole of what truly happened in history and educate yourself on what these individuals witnessed and experienced. It was a great book. And so that was Alan Eskens, the newest one that just came out, I think last month in February, called The Quiet Librarian. I hope you enjoy this book review. Let me know if you've read any of these. Also comment, let me know that you watched to the end. Let me know what your last 5-star read was and what I need to add to my TBR. Thanks everyone.